Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AMG Podcast, Episode 2. They didn't all run away, so we made it to the second episode. That's encouraging.
Nice.
It's a good start. And you
We're
can tell
back.
now we're in the midst of spooky season, so now holidays are, the holidays coming up. We had our Canadian Thanksgiving, which was great. And then now going forward into the fall here, we're going to wind up, and things are happening at the AMG Collectibles store. We're going to talk a little bit about that here. And then some products are starting to come in. We've already had some stuff coming off of the last couple of products that we talked about on the last episode. We'll share a couple of cool hits from some of that. And then going forward, we're going to keep winding things up as we start heading into Expo. I don't want to talk about it too soon, but we're about a month out. So I got to be honest, you're gonna have to start mentioning it a little bit because it's
Oh,
going to be ramping
definitely.
up as we get closer to it. So first, before I get into all of that, let me quickly do a round table here. Sherry, good morning.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks.
Absolutely. You got your Pokemon 151 box I see there as
I
well.
do. I'm waiting to open
Perfect.
it.
Perfectly timed with it.
I want to sell that.
You're gonna sell
If you're really good, Blair, you could sell it during the show and then just
it. Yeah.
literally walk over and grab it. That'd be impressive. I would enjoy that. Lloyd, good morning. How are you?
Not too bad, buddy.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'll give you. You can just give the high level one. Making progress there on the braking thing. Still making progress towards getting that up and running.
Yes, I'm hoping for the when we do this again next week that we will be breaking by then. No
Fantastic.
guarantees, but I'm getting pretty confident we'll be breaking really soon.
Awesome. Yep. And we'll give more updates as we go along, but I want to make sure that we at least touch on it and make sure we address it. Steve, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well.
Excellent. And Steve, we've got some visual aids this episode. We like to share some of the pictures and everything, but this time around we got some visual aids, and Steve has got something in hand. We'll touch on that here in a moment. But I know at least one viewer will appreciate at least one of the items that we'll show. So that'll be a little bit of fun. We'll have some fun with that. And part of the reason that I know that is thanks to Blair. Blair, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Blair was nice enough to share some of these pictures with me. It was funny because I mentioned it to the team and everybody is that when it comes to the Thanksgiving, the holidays, I'm not a morning person. So when we record these, it makes it especially funny that we record them in the morning.
Yeah.
But on a holiday of all things, I was actually up. So I got a text message from Blair, including the pictures, and I was able to respond quickly. Which again, I mentioned it's like that's unusual for me. Normally,
Yeah.
if you message me in the morning, you ain't getting a response until the afternoon. That ain't happening. But in this case, I was up. I was up and about already doing some stuff, and well timed. It was perfectly timed. That was the day to reach me in the morning. He's like, you'll get a response from me. So we were good to go. So I'm going to add the little scrolling ticker here at the bottom of these episodes as we go forward. It includes the Instagram, the AMG Collectibles, one way of accessing and resources, and then amgcollectibles.ca as well as
Mhm.
you can check out the website. It'll also give updates on it because it's got the breaks coming soon. So we'll do the updates here, but then also you can keep an eye there where you get some information on updates on that as well. So we'll make sure we got that. So first off the top, I want to start off with what's happening in the shop. I'll show one of the images here, but does anyone want to volunteer for me and talk to me a little bit about how this past week in the shop was?
Sure, I'll jump in there. We were talking beforehand. I've been here going on 2 years, and this past Saturday was by far our busiest day traffic wise. So I guess we could thank the episode one for that, or at least we can tell ourselves that. But yeah, we've had a really good response and love seeing all the traffic come through.
Good stuff. And I like the display here, very colorful, especially with a lot of the Pokemon stuff. So Sherry, obviously I think this speaks to your heart and a lot of stuff you enjoy.
Yeah,
But
we just did this last night, a little refresh and got a lot more of the product we had out and can't wait to see everybody have fun with it.
good stuff. I like it. I like it. So let me pull that down here for a second. I'll get back to the scrolling ticker. I had to take it off because it was covering Steve. We didn't want to block his spotlight too much for that moment. But no, good stuff. It's looking good, and obviously the shop's getting filled out, which is awesome, especially after the
Hmm.
renovation and building it out in that space, which is great. Now, one of the other things that I want to acknowledge off the top, and I mentioned, we appreciate comments and questions. And generally speaking, the team will get back to you, so it's something we'll get on as we go forward. But I do want to acknowledge a couple of the comments from the first episode that we did, so I want to make sure I cover that. I'll try to get the names, but now YouTube starts doing the little at thing where it becomes this convoluted mess. So I apologize in advance. But I think the first one is Blaine Hamilton. Love the growth of AMG and PSA Canada. So some appreciation for the carryover from the previous YouTube channel as well. So thank you for that. You're all fantastic. What a tremendous source of pride having this pillar of the hobby local to Nova Scotia. Little local pride. Good stuff. Thank you all and see you again soon. Now, this is the question that he includes in here. P.S. are you working on a point system or membership rewards for the store? So that's a question.
Not at this time, but I mean, there's always things that we're looking into and can expand upon. But right now, we do not have that.
Mm. I always find it's like, there's probably a way of, bribes. There's probably
Yeah.
members of the team who need coffee or snacks or something, and probably if that happens, that there may be advantageous to, allegedly. I'm
Yeah.
not promising or committing to that, but I have never seen a situation where that couldn't hurt.
No, definitely. Everybody
It
loves
might help your
coffee.
situation. Might help your situation. I'm just throwing it out there. Second one from Robert Benoit here. Awesome store and great staff. Thank you for the comment.
Thank you.
From Gotham Collectibles here. Best staff ever! Exclamation point. Go Sens go. There you go. Took advantage of the situation. So fair enough. Good stuff. And then the link here, I think it was written differently, but it says the link 1407. So I apologize again what the handles say, but that's how YouTube does it now. Did I hear Lloyd say that breaks were going to be live streamed on YouTube? Question mark. And would this be on the channel or breaks channel? So do you want to touch on that one, Lloyd?
I was going to just subscribe to this channel here that you're watching this video here on, and it'll bring you right to the breaks. Yeah, you'll be able to access them directly off of the webpage. And we'll also be cross-posting links to Facebook and everything else for the YouTube page. So it's not going to be hard to find them. And they will be live on YouTube, yes.
Perfect. Yep. And appreciate it. Again, for anybody checking this out later on, comments or questions are certainly open. And if you do ask a lot of them, we'll be able to respond to you, again, either in the comment, or if it's a very pertinent question, we'll bring it up on the next episode as well. So that way you'll have it. You'll be able to hear it 2 different ways directly from the horse's mouth. Perfect. Okay. So we did mention last week that there were 2 products in particular that we made emphasis on. One of them was the Leaf in the game, and then we also talked about the UD Premiere. Blair was nice enough to provide a couple photos, and we may have some direct visual aids that we'll be able to interactively touch on. Let me show the photos first here, blown up, and then we'll also share them a little bit. So let's go here. And these are a couple different ones pulled. I assume this was from, was it from one pack, Blair, or a couple of packs, or what does this represent?
Yeah, I believe that was from multiple packs, multiple boxes.
Otherwise, this would have been a very loaded pack because I was actually very impressed with the stuff that was in it.
I did tend to pick highlights and some of my favorites, but
nice. So we'll start off here with the Mario Lemieux vignette. So we got a nice jersey autograph there. That's great. Second one is a little bit of dubious quality. I know there are some individuals, so we'll touch on that here in a second. But there's some individuals who may appreciate the second one. So the second one is Regine Lemnon. And I pronounce it slightly differently on other avenues or other venues. Now, I did want to mention, so specifically pertaining to the second one, it is a Calgary Flames dual color swatch. So, Steve, can you share for a moment the card in question? So it does, in fact, exist.
Sure.
And this is kind of pandering to a specific individual in the audience. Nicely done, Steve. Perfect. Now, just since you've got it there, this one, the second one kind of plays more to my sensibilities. You want to share that other card? Again, testament to the kind of stuff that's in the product, which is kind of nice. There you go. There's my guy, Medano, and 6 patch pieces. So it kind of plays into what Lloyd talked about last week. So that's why we want to show like real cards as we're talking about it. There is a very strong memorabilia element to it. You got to remember there are going to be sticker autographs, but that's why I talked about how you can still get Gordie Howe cards even though he's passed away for years. That's only because of sticker autographs. Otherwise, it would be possible. But from a value perspective, if you like some of the legends and you like some of the retired players and everything, they've got a pretty strong checklist of some legends and some great players in the game. And you can get game-used memorabilia pieces and things like that, and multicolored pieces. And they do pick some select swatches oftentimes in a lot of these examples. So let me show a couple more here. We've got a few more images we'll share. So I already showed this one here, but let's shift over to the second one. So here we've got a nice Sergei Fedorov relic, and that looks like a 1-of-1, so that's nice. And then Manon Rhéaume. So that's a nice one there, legendary in the game of hockey. First female player to, I think it was start in a exhibition game for the Tampa Bay Lightning, if memory serves me.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's a pretty solid ad there from a hockey history perspective. I'll skip ahead here for a second. We got a jumbo memorabilia from Grand Fuhrer, so you got a nice piece of the pad there. That's pretty cool. You can see it's proper leather because it's got all the creasing on it that you would expect from that, so that's great. A dual Teemu Selanne and Anders Hedberg dual autograph. 2 different jersey pieces, including a nice patch on the Hedberg. That's a pretty good memorabilia one. And then you got a Peter Mahovlich Summit 72 series signatures. So nice thematic to Canada 72. I like that. And then we got a Guy Lafleur here, vignette, similar to the Lemieux. And then this is one thing that Leaf is really well known for, the multiplayer, very large set pieces. A 63, 64 one if you like your goaltenders. A lot of game use pieces here. Glenn Hall, Terry Sawchuk, Jacques Plante, Roger Crozier, Charlie Hodge, Johnny Bauer, Eddie Johnson, and Gum Borsley. Pretty strong from that early 60s if you know your hockey history. So pretty good. Now I saved my one of a personal favorite for last, because here for the UD premiere, we got the Star Systems with a little smiley face on the autograph, which I appreciate. A little smiley face, I think, added a little extra. And then, of course, Mega Patch. So, Lloyd, you got to practice it. You might need to do vocal exercises and warm it up.
Yeah.
You got to give it that little extra oomph. This is really important. Like the people need. You can't just say, "Oh, Mega Patch." No. You can't. That's just wrong. You can't do that.
Accentuate
a very nice
it.
piece from, a very nice piece from the Sharks there. And you do get to take advantage. Again, hockey is really good for the big patch pieces, especially. You can take advantage of it, and they do a good job with that with Premiere, and also hand numbering. So a little old school as far as doing that with it. But very cool additions. Thank you, Blair, for sharing those. It's a lot of fun stuff as far as that's concerned. So did you guys? So question for you guys in the store. Did you find that a lot of this stuff's moving pretty quick? UD Premiere is a higher end product, and in the game is also. It's not a base brand product, but there's a lot of nice stuff in it. So you find a lot of interest in those. How has things been going so far?
They're both selling well. Actually, we're out of the in the game, and Premier's moving well too. Probably halfway through our allotment, so I don't know the number off the top of my head, but that's selling well for the week it's been out.
I can only assume it's the sheer excitement, the joy of the people over Mega Patch.
Yeah.
I have to assume that's at least part of where the enthusiasm comes in. So that's good.
I think so.
Sounds good. So let's talk about what's coming up. We got another product that's going to be coming up. We did look at the calendar. Right now, this week's calendar is going to be a little lighter comparatively to the last one. However, we do have kind of one that, depending on your preferences, it can be kind of a fan favorite. And we'll talk about that one a little bit here. 2022-2023 Upper Deck Allure Hockey. So let's talk about that here. So if you're familiar with it, Lloyd or anybody else, does anybody else want to give me a high level? If I didn't know anything about Allure, can you describe it to me a little bit briefly? What kind of product is Allure?
Allure is pretty much similar to, I find, O-Pee-Chee Platinum.
Okay.
And I think it might actually start trending the same direction that O-Pee-Chee Platinum has over the last couple of years.
I'm showing some of the parallels on the screen there, so if you get a chance to look at it, there's a lot of them. I'll actually zoom in a little bit just so you can see. So if you are watching this on the YouTube here, you can enjoy there. It is sizable. So this is where I agree with Lloyd, where it does have a lot of elements there with O-Pee-Chee Platinum, is that there are a lot of different parallels. So that might be good or bad for you, depending on your preferences. But if you're a player collector or something like that, it could be kind of fun to chase some of these. So that's something important.
Yeah, the only difference is a lot of these are sticker autos, where O-Pee-Chee Platinum is hard signed.
Absolutely. So we got showing some of the inserts here. So one of the ones I'm looking at here is you got Allure Quartz, we got blockers, game stills, iced out, and runaways. And that kind of goes under Upper Deck's mandate. They're really focusing and putting a lot of emphasis on different inserts and technologies and a lot of that. They've done a lot more of that. They'll still have the autographs and products and things like that and memorabilia, but Allure is not really about that. It's about a lot of these inserts and the parallels. Yeah. So we've got this check please here. Go ahead.
Carlos, I did a little cheat sheet just to add. I know it's obviously off the same website, but just the breakdown. So you get 9 packs per box with 8 cards per pack, and averaging 1 auto a box. You get 150 card base set. That breaks down to 100 veterans and 50 rookies. And they say 1 rookie per pack. So that's actually pretty good if that's exact. They got some new additions. They have base photo variations. And then I think it was on the screen a minute ago, these gold glitter bombs in the hobby, which are numbered out of 199. And then, of course, the big popular hit, is obviously the rainbow, or they're calling it now color flow. And I think you can get those in like the regular, yeah, right there. So you can get the regular, and there's also the numbered spectrums in the hobby. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I know a lot of people like to chase and try to put this rainbow together. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
the color flow one is a good one because that has carried over to the AEW product as well. So Upper Deck's done that, and I've had the chance to speak with Billy Cilio, who from Upper Deck, who does a lot of these products. And one of the things with the whole color flow thing, now you can see it on the screen there, but one thing to understand is that they've taken the concept of kind of the parallel and everything for a player, and it's basically like a gradient that flows through from left to right effectively that you can have. And if you collect the group of the cards, you can actually watch that gradient go. So it's kind of a cool visual effect. So it looks really good on the obviously in the concept art, but that's what you're getting as you go through them. And they're, I believe, different degrees of difficulty as you go through it. Most of them are pretty fair and fairly available, but they do get a little bit tougher as you go along to getting to the numbered ones. Now, one other thing I'll mention here, since we've got it, is they've also included. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. It's a conversation that I had with the team before we started recording. Upper Deck has gone into the thing about going into inserts so much is that it means you're going to have odds that are all over the place. So it's one of those things where it does help you a lot to try to pay attention because sometimes you'll identify some hidden gems or cards that if you just pull it in a box, you might not realize how tough it is. One example of that is what's covered here is that there's a set called 16-bit, where if you remember the old video game days, which plays into, I started in the 8-bit era, so 16-bit is obviously a playoff of that. You know, you can look up some video games and you'll see, but that is 1 in 810 packs. So that is not an easy pull. So if you get something from that checklist of 16-bit, you're going to see like actually, and if you know, I can imagine a kid who is used to the PlayStation generation and Xbox generation today going like, "What the heck is this 16-bit?" They might get a little confused. It'd be entertaining for somebody like me, but it's very specific. But 1 in 810 packs though, that is an extremely tough pull. That would be an excellent pull to get in one of these. So just something to bear in mind. Some of those are a little bit sneaky. You got to pay attention to those odds because you might catch something that you might not realize is a much tougher pull than you think. And some of the bigger checklists mean some of those cards are really short printed relative to the rest of the product. So I just want to share a couple more of the cards we go through. I mentioned some of them while Blair was explaining some of the autographs here. I want to touch on some of those. Like I said, you got a different color flow, including color flow autographs, so you've got that as well. So some of these inserts have it. As Blair mentioned already, the 8 cards are packed, 9 packs per box, and then there's 18 boxes in a case. So we've got a lot of those different ones. I will include a link to the Cardboard Connection page so that you can check it out for yourself. I do strongly recommend it if you're interested, because again, we highlighted a few, but there are definitely hidden gems in here. If you really know what you're looking for and you find something, and I say this as a suggestion, you'd be surprised how many people, especially when these products first come out, are going to list. I could envision one of those 16 bits getting listed for like a $20 buy it now for somebody not having a clue what they're looking at. And if you already know this, you can snap that thing up. So just a good way of picking up some of these great cards at potentially a bargain basement price. And then when everybody else catches up and they suddenly bump up the price, you were able to get your copy at a much more reasonable price.
Definitely.
Good stuff. So one thing that I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit. So those are the main things as far as the products are concerned for this week. One other thing I'll touch on, and we'll talk about it more next week since it'll be coming out that week. We are getting Upper Deck Series 1. So the new Series 1 is coming out. I do want to touch on it briefly off the top because, of course, that is an exciting product. Flagship is always a big deal with the Young Guns and everything. We're going to have some of that. We'll get a chance to explore the checklist a little bit more so, and we'll talk about it more next week because I definitely want to see how much Connor Bedard content they managed to put in there. So even though the Young Gun is going to get pushed to Series 2, I would expect some stuff to get snuck in there. They're usually pretty sneaky about that. They know that it's an opportunity to include, especially with the season right about to happen. I think Puck Drop is tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So perfect timing. And I believe the Blackhawks are getting featured in one of those games.
Play Pittsburgh.
So it's one of those things where it's a great opportunity to showcase it. Obviously, since he'll be playing, and by the time that product comes out, now it's live. Putting him in Series 2, I understand that, but I'm sure they snuck him in there somewhere. Usually, canvas is kind of a sneaky way that they can do it sometimes. I don't know if they did that this time around, but it's a good way to do it if they want to.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
sure.
Laura, did you get a chance to scan the checklist at all? Do you know? Have you had a chance to take a
No,
peek?
not yet. Is it released?
So if they're releasing it next week, we should have a checklist. I'll double check. But just high level, what I wanted to talk about is two things. So first, just for flagship coming up here, high level thoughts, because usually that's a very exciting thing in the calendar
Correct.
for the product comes out. Go ahead.
Yes, the checklist is released, and Bedard wasn't on it because I remember looking at it now.
Yeah, they didn't sneak him into an insert or anything
No.
either?
Nope.
Okay.
Could he
Shame.
still be in there?
I'm wondering about an Easter egg because Upper Deck is kind of sneaky about. So that's another thing I want to mention about Upper Deck. You can check the stuff on the checklist, and sometimes Upper Deck will put something that is not on the checklist, and then it'll be after the fact that they'll be, oh, by the way, here's an Easter egg. Here's a card that was unannounced, but we threw it in.
Well, the way I see it going now is for the last couple of years since they started putting out extended always have been a flop. So I think they're going to save half of Connor Bedard stuff for extended.
Sneaky, very sneaky.
So that way they can sell all three products instead of just series 1 and 2.
Well, if you're getting a generational guy, you might as well milk that for all it's worth. Take advantage of it wherever you can and do it. So I wouldn't blame them. It's a bit of a shame, but we'll do more of a deep dive into the checklist next week. But I wanted to briefly touch on it. But I think that'll be very exciting. So this is kind of so the first question that I'll kind of throw at you collectively. Obviously, when flagship happens, there's going to be a lot of boxes. That product tends to move quite a bit because it is the excitement with it. What's been your experiences? A lot of people running and chasing after the young guns, trying to still a lot of set builders. Like, what's your experience with a lot of flagship these days?
It's all about the young guns.
Yeah.
With Upper Deck, it always has been, and then of course you can throw in the inserts or serial numbered cards, but definitely the young guns.
Makes sense. And also, I think there's something that I think will be interesting, and this is something we'll like I said, we'll go deeper dive into it. I believe this is, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is the first year that they're doing the new configuration.
Yeah.
With the 12 cards per pack and 12 packs per box, which changes the dynamic a little bit as far as the way that's structured. Make it a little easier for the breaker.
Yep.
Just saying, less packs, a little more streamlined, a little more straightforward. But that does change the configuration and the way it's set up, so that's going to be interesting. And also, I believe they've got the Young Gun 1-of-1s.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's going to be a new little wrinkle, a bit of a twist on the old one, because we had the high gloss before, and now we're going to have the Young Gun 1-of-1. So Series 2, Connor Bedard 1-of-1.
Yeah.
We can speculate on how much money it's going to cost to pick up that one when that one comes up. That'll be a big chase. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
But for the first set of Young Guns, that's still a chase for them too. So you're going to have the 1-of-1s for them as well. So whoever breaks out of that first crop, if somebody comes out ahead, 1-of-1 would be a massive monster pull for somebody who's a big fan.
There is
definitely.
one card in there that a lot of people are going to be going after because it's Leafs. And Nyes, his Young Guns in Series 1.
Nice.
So
Now imagine a 1-of-1 of his.
yeah.
That'd be massive. That'd be a big one. That's
And
why I say
then,
there's a couple twists they've added to this one, that's why I say the deep dive will be fun because there's a lot of stuff that we got to pay attention. It's not the same flagship that we're used to. There's some twists that have been thrown into this one. Not a coincidence, since they're going to take advantage of the Bedard thing as an excuse to mess up. If you're going to rechange the configuration, you're waiting for a generational talent or a perceived generational talent to start playing around with it a little bit. No surprise. So that's fair. Okay. So we've got that. And then one topic here that we'll talk about really quick just to kind of round out the episode. I did kind of allude to it with the team a little bit, is that obviously there's some we talked about the different things that Fanatics can do. There are going to be some big stores that are going to be built out. We talked about it a little bit briefly, but I do want to get a little bit of a thought from the rest of you. One of the things we talked about the way AMG was rebuilt was in the concept of having some of those experiences. So that what's happening with this store I'm alluding to, and folks that follow YouTube will know this, Jeff Wilson of Sports Card Investor fame is announcing that he's going to build a gigantic store in Atlanta. But they're using a lot of this experiential model of having these different experiences inside of the store, which is what Fanatics has been pushing for and promoting as part of their model anyway. But I'm just curious, given that, and this is a bit of an open-ended discussion, it is going to cost a lot more upfront money for somebody to build that type of a store. It's a very different style. and that's tough, especially in an environment where you're going to have your walk-up traffic, but you got to incorporate so many of these other elements. We talked about that. You know, Lloyd is going to be building up on the braking piece, but now you cannot be just a regular card store relying on people walking up to you. You got to be a lot of things to a lot of people. Do you see that being something where that's going to require maybe less stores, but more stores that play into this model as opposed to the old model? Because if you're not willing to then renovate, if you're a store that's already been around for a while, if you're starting a new store, well, then you can build it basically to their spec right away. But if you're a store that's already kind of established, but you don't necessarily have the capital to completely redo the thing, you might get left a little bit behind. Just kind of thoughts from you guys on that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's kind of 50-50. Like, you're still going to have the people that like to go into those old vintage stores, and kind of like how we have the attic in the back. Like, you still want to have that experience and not just the modernized side of everything. So it's definitely going to be a mix of people.
It's definitely a shock and awe situation, and I can't imagine walking into that store and just be overwhelmed. So you're going to get a lot of just browsers coming in to see, what's going on, and serious collectors. I guess that's they're in heaven, but I just can't imagine the overhead, the amount of employees. Maybe we'll get there someday, but I don't know.
I'm envisioning Steve as the ringmaster, holding court on a gigantic amphitheater.
Yeah,
it's like and playing from the loudspeaker, off in the distance. Playing from the loudspeaker, off in the distance. You hear from the breaks, mega patch. Yeah. Look, work with it. See the vision.
Don't encourage him.
It's the future, Blair. Don't fight the future. The future is very loud. Yeah. I'm also just when Sherry did that, what I was envisioning, I was envisioning the attic getting completely built up to a certain point, but then it's like, yeah, we're just gonna lean into it, and literally the attic is the dusty card store. It's one corner that's the old dusty card store, while the rest of it's all modernized, and it's like, oh, I just want the old schools. I go to the attic.
Yeah.
But then you got to find like an old school crusty owner whose only job is just to hang out in the attic.
Yeah.
And just to elaborate on the attic, we were fortunate that just as we were opening, a gentleman came in, and I think it was his uncle or his grandfather was a complete hoarder, but it was perfect stuff for the attic, like little $1 and $2 items, but he'd have like a Wayne Gretzky keychain, but have 150 of them. So it was just great stuff, a buck a piece, and lots of little trinkets and stuff like that. So this week was insane. People were showing up with bins, and just, a lot of resellers that like to do flea markets and stuff like that. And now our problem is, we got to find another hoarder with another massive grouping. The attic will be bare before too long.
Definitely.
Like I said, I'm just envisioning. It would just make me so entertained in in this modernized, beautiful looking store. Yeah. If you just had a corner, because my local card shop when I was growing up was actually a flea market, and it was downstairs in the flea market, and you had this dealer who had been doing it for years and years and years. He'd still get the new boxes, so we still had the new stuff, but it was all the boxes full of singles, and half of them were completely disorganized, and it was all over the place. And it was kind of that old school vibe built into this booth that he had built out. Yep. And I'm almost envisioning that being like an island in the middle of it. It's like, really, guys? It's like it's literally the flea market booth in the middle of the thing, and there's your old school experience.
Yeah.
Look, there's some nostalgia to it. I'm not gonna lie, but I kind of don't mind the counters being clean.
Oh, absolutely.
Cleaning the counters once in a while isn't all bad. It's okay.
No. They'll just be dirty in the attic.
Yeah.
Perfect. The best of all worlds. That's fantastic.
Nobody cleans back there.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Except Blair.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so one other thing I'll throw in there, and we've talked about it as well. And like I said, one of the things that they touched on is going to be focusing a lot on that internet element. And look, like the very conversation we're having right now is in that kind of a piece of it too, because it's not just being online. It's having the eBay store. It's having the breaks, which are going to be available online, which we talked about. It's developing content around the shop, like literally what we're doing right now. that's part and parcel too. Because one of the things they talked about in that video, and if I can find there, I'll link it, because if you're curious, may as well check it out, because that's going to be one vision of what that future is going to look like. So you may as well be aware of it. Don't be ignorant of it. Be whether you like it or don't like it, at least know what it is so that you know what's going on. But one of the things that struck me is that they're going to put a heavy emphasis on that online element, including breaks, very similarly to it. But they are going to build out one of those sports card investor studios inside that store. So now you imagine you walk into the store, you're doing whatever you're doing, and then all of a sudden there's a live episode of Sports Card Investor happening over there, with the cameras and the pomp and circumstance and everything. But that's not an accident. It does not surprise me that there is that thought to include that as part of the. It's almost like you become part of the studio audience.
Yeah.
In the midst of being in a store full of cards that you can buy and sell and things. So any kind of thoughts on that, Lloyd? Are you kind of getting what I'm saying as far as that becomes an incorporate? It also becomes a thing where I can imagine them having TVs showing their own stuff playing on loop inside the store. I can envision that very easily.
Well, I'm sitting here right now and I can see our front door. So people can walk in through the door and watch the breaks when they're happening live right here.
Yeah,
so
I can see that becoming part of the overall experience, though. So, Steve, do you kind of see as well what I'm thinking about as far as that? It doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, I feel like that's going to become more the norm for a lot of these stores.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the things they're doing, we're trying to touch on it, whether it's the live breaks, just being interactive with the customers, this platform. And I think it'll be great when Lloyd starts doing breaks, and locals can show up and look in the window and watch Lloyd breaking cards. And if they're lucky enough to win one, they can take it home with them that day. So I think that will be a great element to the store.
Absolutely. I think Sherry, I think the differentiator might have to be with what I suggested last week. I think we might have to bring in the foam finger.
I think so.
We might need to be like, Lloyd's number one. Just bring the foam fingers in there, and then somebody can start the wave.
Absolutely.
That'd be really exciting,
Right through the whole store.
I'll turn the cameras around so they're facing the window so everybody can come on in and breaks and be in the background.
Primo. I love it. Now, so let me finish on this thought and this question. So this is more of a fun one. We'll have a little fun with this. Okay, if money was no object and unlimited budget, is there any kind of crazy off the wall idea you would love to try if you weren't worried about the ROI on it? If you could just try something wacky in the store, just to be like either to bring people in or to show something that maybe you wouldn't expect to see at a store, what would you love to try if, again, you just had a blank check to try whatever you wanted? So, Sherry, any thoughts on anything you would love to try? Are we getting an animatronic Charizard? Are we getting an animatronic Charizard?
You know what? I think so. Fire breathing. Definitely. No questions.
We could get one of the ones that
so we can burn a
trucks.
few cards that we might want to.
I would just love a Charizard that is basically, have you ever seen like when you go to the monster truck rallies and they got the big, dinosaur that eats cars? Now imagine that's a Charizard.
Yeah.
See, Sherry, I got you covered.
Thanks, Carlos. I appreciate that.
That's fantastic.
I think that's a great idea. Put it right next to Deadpool.
Deadpool riding the Charizard.
See, Blair gets it. Blair's seen the movies. That would be very much on brand for Deadpool to do that.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a little bit wackier, a little bit more off the wall. So, let your imagination run. Again, unlimited budget. So you're not constrained.
I know.
Go for it. Anybody else want to take a stab at their wild and crazy idea for the new AMG Collectibles? We got the animatronic Charizard that eats cars. Pretty sweet.
I think even something for kids, and this exists already, but you could, with all this technology stuff, and by no means am I very technical, but I think it'd be neat if a kid could like design his own hockey card or baseball. Could just come into the store and you have something set up where they can upload a little picture of themselves, and next thing you know, they've designed their own cards. I know you can order them from other sources and that, but I think it'd be kind of neat if a kid can come in and do that on their own.
So like a kiosk, basically. You can you can scan it or take a picture or something, and then it spits out a card for you that you can take back with you.
Yeah, and you can put Charizard in the background if you want.
Well, Charizard might be eating a car at that moment, but that'd be perfect. As the background thing going on. I like it.
Or piggybacking Deadpool.
I like it, Steve. All right. Blair, Lloyd, any thoughts?
I like
I'm
serving
gonna-
customers, but what about robots in the store that could service the clients?
Well, they're probably running away from the Charizard. You know, this is
Probably.
probably my
There's-
Or the Charizard might eat them. Yeah.
I'm just saying Charizard is going to dominate the conversation because as soon as you got one of those running around, like that's already going to be, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
A very entertaining problem. That's where we get the live feed, Lloyd. So that's where we get the live feed to the store. Like it's like, guys, go on to the AMG Dark channel, and you're gonna get
Yeah.
to see the Charizard running around the store all night.
AMG
Oh
After
my
Dark.
God. Yeah.
Fantastic. I see nothing that could possibly go wrong.
No.
That'd be great. All right, Lloyd, all you. What do you want to do?
Give me a set of Gordie Howe game used gloves
Okay.
and a box of Parkas, and I put the gloves on and open it up and pull the Gordie Howe rookie with his actual gloves on. It might not come out mint because I got these big bulky gloves on,
Mm.
but yeah,
We could
The
do that.
man's ambitious. I like it. He's going old school breaks with gloves on.
I'm with
Yeah.
them. That's cool.
hockey gloves.
Mm-hmm. Well, oven mitts would be a little awkward. Funnier in some ways,
Oh,
but it would be a little
definitely.
awkward.
I'll even put a mouth guard in.
I think that'd be fun. now I want you to wear a mouth guard when you say mega patch.
Yes.
That would just make it ties it all together, brings it all together in space. Anyway,
Well, that's a
I
lot
just
of great ideas, team.
Sherry, now you know money's no object. Now, like
Yeah.
the team's got ideas clearly. Like once the imagination flowed a little bit, that it got real interesting real fast.
Yeah. I might expand upon this for next week.
Mhm, mhm. Well, like I said, as far as products are concerned, we wanted to touch on Allure, so we did. I wanted to have a little fun with that last topic because it's it's a little bit more open ended. There's a lot of visions, so kind of tying that portion of the conversation together. There's a lot of visions for what the card shop of the future is going to look like. There are elements of it that I think are going to work. Elements I think that are going to be a lot of fun. I like interactive elements. I like the fact that the internet's being acknowledged more. I think that's actually a good thing. I think there's an understanding that, we talk about it that what we're doing here is like, look, at the end of the day, this content, you can get content like this stuff, videos, podcasts, and everything anywhere, but you won't be able to replace the experience of people who are actually doing it. So it's one of those things where I think that's where you can kind of bring a little bit of experience, a little bit of element. What we did earlier today with the Allure thing is like, look, I can send you to Cardboard Connections and you can just read it. But the question is, can you read between the lines a little bit? Have you had the experience with the products like that to understand that, by the way, traditionally these do pretty well, or this is something that's a little bit sneaky that not everybody's paying attention to. That's why I wanted to draw to your attention to certain, because a lot of people just gloss over it. They'll just read from top to bottom. They'll see, oh, these are the autographs. These are this. It's like, well, the 16-bit is 1 in 810 packs. That's a bit sneaky. You might not be paying attention to that one if you just quickly gloss through and gloss over it and look for some of the inserts or parallels.
Yeah.
But if you've been in the store for a while, you're going to realize somebody's going to pull one of those cards in one of those boxes and maybe not even realize what they have. And that's where you educate. You offer, hey, by the way, that's actually a really good pull. That's actually really cool. You might be surprised. Check that out. Look into that a little more closely. That'd be that's a fun card.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So any last thoughts then before we call it a week?
I have.
Oh, Blair?
Since we last spoke, I'm going to baseball.
Yeah,
So
Blair
since
mentioned this, so I go. So Blair, now's the time. I left the opening. Speak now, or forever hold your peace.
We last spoke.
Mm.
My beloved Blue Jays are gone.
I was hoping the props would live up to it, and I feel they did. I was gonna
That
bring
is
my Blue
perfect.
Jays postseason. I was gonna bring my Blue Jays postseason hat, but it was too depressed. It couldn't make it.
Well, I even broke this out. Circa
Gruber.
1987, I had this out in the house watching the games. I thought it would bring us luck, but I think it really went the other way.
Okay, so I have a question now that you brought that up. So that Kelly Gruber looks like it has game damage on the back. What's going on
Yeah,
with the Gruber?
it got worn a lot. Like
How?
even
Well, what happened? Did you get thrown on the ground?
listen, this is circa 1987.
I understand, but I'm trying to understand how the nameplate got damaged. Like the nameplate is up here, up about the shoulders. Like what's going on?
It got worn a lot. I was a very proud Kelly Gruber fan.
There you go. All right. Fair enough.
No, I have no idea. Yeah.
I appreciate the acknowledgement. I back in the day I think I've been to 300 Jays games, give or take 300 Jays games.
Oh,
I was
wow.
a season ticket holder for a year. It got real expensive after that, but I did enjoy. I treated myself to season tickets for a year, so I've been to my fair share of games. When it was the Sky Dome, I'm still going to call it the Sky Dome. I refuse to change. Like, no.
As you can hear, Blair's store, I think, might be open, but renovations are still occurring back in our storage room right now.
It is.
So we have that being completely gutted.
That's not Steve with a bad lunch.
I just assumed that background sign was them making a pen for the animatronic Charizard.
You know what? That very well could be. Stay tuned.
Perfect. So on that note, thank you, Blair. I appreciate that. It's like I've kind of lost a lot of I won't say hope in the Jays, but it's like I go in, it's like, all right, let me see what you do. I'm not counting on you guys. Like I got questions. 2015, in my opinion, was probably, if things had fallen a little bit, I actually think that team had a shot. That team, if they had gotten past the Royals, I would have liked their chances in the World Series. That everything fell into place just right, but you don't catch lightning in a bottle like that all the time. So it's one of those ones where it's like, 2015 was, I think, the shot. The current team, I don't know. See? I agree. So while Lloyd's construction completes and he works towards getting the brakes up and running, I want to thank you all for joining us. We had a little fun towards the tail end there. And
Carlos, can I say something right quick?
Go ahead, please.
I just have to wish my daughter Briley a happy 21st birthday today.
Whoa!
Nice, happy birthday!
Happy birthday,
Better
Briley.
go to college tomorrow.
Oh my goodness!
Nice.
Wow.
Nicely done.
She's officially legal down in the States. So,
Yeah.
Riley, go to school tomorrow.
Yes.
So you're saying don't hit up the pub, go to school instead?
Exactly. Don't do what I would have done.
Yeah.
Oh, always off to a good start. I like that. Fair enough.
Look where it got him.
Happy birthday! Absolutely, happy birthday. So, like I said, we had a little bit of fun towards the tail end there because, because really it is about enjoying yourself. It is cards. It's not that serious. It should be fun, and hopefully we can bring some of that going forward. And please do continue to leave comments. Comments and questions are much appreciated because they also give us some direction in terms of what we can talk about in future episodes. Also, if you could like the video, appreciate that. Continue to subscribe. We got past the 100. Now I'm greedy. I want to get to 150 and 200. So let's go. Let's get those subscriptions happening, and we'll be back with additional episodes. And also, we'll start talking more about the products as we go forward. So something I'll talk with the team. We'll start including some of that, and you may get some standalone videos on some of these products as we get a chance to do some more of these deep dives. But we'll also talk about them in this format briefly to give everybody a chance to chime in and give their 2 cents as well. And if there's any other things that you'd like to see from the channel and from what we're doing here, please let us know, because we can definitely incorporate more of that. So for myself, Sherry, Lloyd, Steve, and Blair, sad Blue Jay fan, I understand. From everybody here at AMG, thank you for checking this one out, and we will catch you in the next one.